Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Hello, friends, and welcome once again to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur toy maker, and welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent, digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting talk and music shows throughout the day. All we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And my friends, I want you to be part of the conversation, so I want you to find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Cameo, at Colt S. Taylor, also on Rizzle. And you can also listen to past shows by subscribing at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. All right, let's get started with this week's Saturday Report. First up this week, friends, we start in the Midwest of the United States, where earlier this week there were some very deadly tornadoes, one of the largest tornado outbreaks in December ever seen. There was one particular tornado that I believe traveled over 200 miles, which was an EF4, which is a scale from 1 to 5 of how powerful it is. Pretty powerful tornado. We saw scenes of an Amazon warehouse being obliterated, a candle factory that was obliterated, lots of towns almost completely destroyed. A awful tornado outbreak out there in the Midwest. And a lot of people are still picking up, and they'll be picking up for weeks and weeks to come. But anyways, that I'm sure you've already heard about. What I'm going to be talking about related to that is the stupidest thing I saw on Twitter. Now, listen, folks, you know, I don't take too much time out of my day on this radio station to point out the moronic decisions some people or companies make. Notable exceptions would, of course, be Hyundai, and Better.com. But I came across a tweet that was so dumbfoundingly obliterates any notion of how could you think this was a good thing to say. So the gentleman, before I read it, let me introduce you to the gentleman who wrote. He tweeted, "This is Mr. Daniel Turner, the founder and executive director of Power the Future, advocating for American energy, comma, exposing the socialist radical green political movement." Oh, okay, I see. And then in the Power of the Future Twitter, that bio is, "We are the voice of energy workers pushing back on radical green groups and the ideologues that fund them." So, Mr. Turner here had tweeted about his thoughts about the tornado and the tornado coverage that it had. He tweeted, "The top 5 deadliest tornadoes in America all occurred between 1840 and 1936. Today's climate change crazies weren't even born yet." I mean, how stupid is this person? Like, you're an executive director. I mean, imagine he makes quite a bit of money grifting off of people to send him money. But yeah, between 1840 and 1936, gosh, I wonder why the National Weather Service did not go back in time, found itself, launched satellites, create a texting system to send out warnings to people because of these deadly tornadoes. Yeah, tornadoes were deadlier back then, Danny, because people did not have warnings, Danny, because it's not like people would telegram for Mr. Colt Sebastian Taylor. Oh, I say, what's the telegram say? Tornado warning. There'll be a tornado in your backyard in approximately 5 minutes. Perhaps we shall take shelter. Oh, yes, I suppose so. Yes, get the sherry and the dogs and the children down to the shelter. Bring the Vitrola. Yeah, Yeah, people didn't get warnings back then. With the tornado warnings that people got between 1840 and 1936 was, boy, it's windy outside. Well, that's a tornado. And if you didn't do that, you didn't know one was coming. Yeah. So the fact that we haven't had a deadliest tornado, the top 5 deadliest tornadoes were over 70, 80 years ago, is not a reflection on there being climate crazies there, Danny. It's a reflection on how much technology has advanced to understand how weather works and how climate works, so that predictions can be made to warn people to take cover. So that was, I forwarded that to a few meteorologist associates of mine on ye old Twitter, and all of them pretty much said, wow, that's the stupidest thing I've read all day on Twitter. Yeah, so, listen, I don't take too much time to go after folks on here, but using a tragedy in Kentucky to push your BS foundation and making wild statements about how history and weather works, yeah, that gets my attention. And yeah, that will get you mentioned on The Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor, a internationally renowned radio station here on AWSM Radio. Just for notifications here, his tweet was retweeted over 7,000 times and has 30,000 likes, which means there are roughly 30-some thousand other idiots out there who think this is a real thing. The replies to it are a little brutal. Yeah, what a childish prick. So, if you happen to come across him on ye old Twitter, you tell him that Colt Sebastian Taylor says hello, and that you enjoyed his segment about him on my radio show. Alright, I am done with that, moron. I'm going to close off this part of the story and hopefully never read anything stupid from him ever again. Next up, streaming services. Yes, for those who have cable internet and also decide to stream. I myself do for a few streaming services. The Hulu, the Netflix, the Disney Plus. Although I haven't watched anything on Disney Plus in months. Maybe wondering why I decided to do it, but here I am anyways. Anyways, there are tons of streaming services, which I saw a joke the other day. If you remember Captain Planet, the old cartoon where you're like, fire, air, heart, wind, with our powers combined, I'm Captain Planet. It was all 5 of those kids and went, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV. With your streaming fees combined, I am your regular cable bill. Well, anyways, YouTube TV has a streaming service, which I do not subscribe, and they're having a bit of a spat with Disney. Yes, they're having a bit of a spat with Disney. Disney, ABC, ESPN, they're all owned by the same folks. Freeform, FX Network, National Geographic. They are having a distribution fight at the moment, and if they cannot come to agreement or a contract, the Disney suite of networks will be removed from the service. Yes, that's right. Happening, they had until Friday at midnight. And as I do not have YouTube TV, I'm not quite sure what their current status is. But if you do, you may not see them this weekend because they're trying to sort things out. If they do not come to agreement, YouTube plans to reduce the monthly price of YouTube TV from $64.99 to $49.99. Basically, since they can't offer those premium channels, they will lower the price until they come to some sort of agreement. Of course, if they do not have it, you can always sign up on Hulu, which apparently has a Disney bundle as well. But this is the first time that Google has had a spat with distributors. They had a similar distribution issue with NBC Universal earlier this year. and they was going to expire on September 30th, but they had a new contract by October 2nd, and I'm not quite sure if there was any interruption of services at that point. And then last week, Google and Roku. Roku is a streaming, more of a streaming service. Yeah, they're a streaming service. They sell like a little box or whatnot. They sell their differences, and now back on Roku, YouTube and YouTube TV apps are now available once again on Roku after YouTube pulled them 7 months ago. So, in the world of streaming, distribution, and things like this, you're probably going to see more and more spats between these various providers and distributors. Roku is a different kind of distributor as well. So, like Google doesn't sell, I don't think they sell a device that you plug into your TV, which you can stream things. Like Apple has the Apple TV, Amazon has the Fire Stick, Roku has a little device as well, and Google and YouTube are an app that can be installed onto these devices and whatnot. So there's a lot of layers there. It's really, unfortunately, a very fragmented ecosystem, and you kind of have to pick and choose. You just can't pick one thing and get everything you want. You kind of have to pick and choose what you want, what you don't want, and then you also have cable. So, it is what it is. I mean, I think these streaming services are good for binge watching and for original programming. I mean, got The Handmaid's Tale, etc., etc. You can't watch it on TV. You gotta watch it on a streaming service. So, these people have lots of money and they're funding their own series. Not me yet. Not yet. Not this show. I think this show should be on YouTube TV. I'm a visual treat, folks. Big bushy beard, pith helmet, handsome face, adorable blue eyes. I mean, my goodness, that's practically worth $65 a month, I think. Well, anyways, if you have YouTube TV, you may or may not have these channels by the end of the week. Hopefully, they'll be able to sort things out. If you don't, well, your YouTube TV bill just got $15 cheaper. Speaking of something that's worth every single penny, my pal DC, that's right, DC, the DJ, fantastic fella, amazing DJ, and he has a show just like me, right here on AWSM Radio, DC live in effect. He's our in-house DJ here at AWSM Radio, and he mixes it up every Friday night at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m. You do not, my friends, want to miss out while he smashes it on the ones and twos, kicking the beats from his South Florida compound every single week on Fridays and Sundays. I mean, listen, I've been here for over a year. If you haven't listened to it yet, you're a fool. You're a fool, and I don't respect you. So, earn my respect and affection, or, just a pat on the back, and listen to DC live in effect Fridays at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m., right here on AWSM Radio. Moving along, for all of you folks out there that love the Oprah, you also love the Dr. Phil, and you probably love the Dr. Oz. Well, unfortunately, Dr. Oz will not be broadcasting for a while. Why, you ask? Well, the doc is running for office. Yes, he has decided to run for Senate in my fair Commonwealth, Pennsylvania. I have to say, though, I am not a fan of Dr. Oz. I was not a fan of Dr. Oz before his announcement. Was not a fan of Dr. Oz before the pandemic when he made some statements like, you are not that smart. I wasn't a fan of Dr. Oz even before that, before things changed in 2020. And I certainly don't like him now that he's running for Senate and whatnot. So he is running for Senate in Pennsylvania as a Republican. Of course, he is making all of the stops all over right-leaning media and whatnot. He recently complained that he was being silenced and canceled while on TV, mind you, being watched by millions, because the Philadelphia Inquirer didn't call him Dr. Oz or Doc Oz. They called him by his full name, and he felt like he was being silenced because of that. So basically, because they did not decide to call him by his TV personality of Dr. Oz, he feels like he's being silenced and canceled. Okay. I'm not quite sure why celebrities feel the need to run for office. I mean, Matthew McConaughey was teasing about running for Texas. I was like, oh, all right. Sure be interesting. At least Matthew McConaughey is interesting to listen to. I don't find Dr. Oz interesting to listen to at all. I mean, he likes to really, he likes to really talk about how great of a doctor he is. But you know what? All the videos and video pictures of him being a doctor, he looks a whole lot younger. I think he's more in the entertainment business now than he is in the medical business. He has parlayed his medical business into becoming an entertainer. Which, hey, you know what? From a branding perspective, I'm all for it. If I could somehow parlay what I do to making millions of dollars and selling stuff online or on TV, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'd sell it in a heartbeat. But, yeah, so he's running for Senate. That'll be interesting. But who's going to replace Dr. Oz on TV? What will the people do, you ask? Well, never fear. He's been replaced by his daughter, Daphne Oz, talk show called The Good Dish. Apparently it was a segment on the Dr. Oz show where his daughter and two other women with Gail Simmons and Jamaica Pessoa would do some cooking segments. And so now they're going to turn that into a full-fledged talk show called The Good Dish, and it will premiere in 90% of the country come January. So he is ending his show, actually, Dr. Oz, just for clarification, on January 14th, 2022. In New York and in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Maryland and places around Pennsylvania, stations that carry his show that could be watched in Pennsylvania, that show has already been pulled off the air because of basically political, finance, etc., etc. You just can't do that. But for the rest of the country and the world, will bemoan the ending of his show on January 14th, 2022. And fingers crossed, he'll be back, let's say late November 2022. Moving along, folks, cars, but not Hyundai. Those snakes. Nope, talking about Buick, which, I tell you what, friends, I had two Buicks in my past, and oh my goodness, I love them. Those things were beasts. Beasts! Wish I could get another one. Maybe I will one of these days. But anyways, recently a Buick sold for almost $250,000 on eBay. Price yourself, wow, that must be a really new car. Nope, it was a 1987 Buick GNX. Price yourself, why would someone spend $250,000 on a car that's over 30 years old? Well, it's a rare one. Several others have been sold this year. All of them going over for 200,000 miles, including one with just 759 miles on it. That went for $600,000. Another with only 8 miles on it. Sold for $275,000. Wow. Only 547 were built in the 1 year it was built by Buick, and had been only driven 426 miles since then. It was by avid American muscle car collector Anthony Sia, who told Fox News Autos, which is apparently a channel, he only put 4 miles on it during the 7 years he bought it from the original owner as an investment. So the GNX is short for Grand National Experiment. The car apparently had was powered by a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 with over 300 horsepower, and was produced through a collaboration between Buick, McLaurin Engines, and ASC Incorporated. According to contemporary tests, tests at the time, by Car and Driver, it was the quickest car of the day to reach 60 miles per hour, and second in the world only to the Porsche 911 Turbo. So it's a very rare muscle car. Buick made for 1 year, less than 600 in 600 ever made. Probably not as that many survived, but this one went for almost $250,000, $249,999 on the eBay. So it's a quarter-mile muscle car, and this new person just, I guess, invested into a new investment, whatnot. While reading about this, because I found this very interesting, this is kind of an offshoot. There is something out there called Q cars. These are cars that look like everyday cars, but are actually on the inside unbelievably souped up in terms of engine and range. So like people make these cars, take the outsides of just regular looking cars, nondescript cars, and then build up the inside to be an amazingly fast or high endurance car. Basically, they're used in like secret races. So like, if you ever see the movie Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds, great movie. But people do Cannonball Run type races where they will leave New York, and the first one to LA wins. And usually it would take 36 hours, but people have developed these cars that will do it in 25. So basically they'll put a large fuel tank in the back seat. They'll put improved engines. They will install police radar jammers, and have radios on them. And this is just a high performance car that can like cruise at 100 miles an hour for extended periods of time and avoid being caught by the police. And it just looks like, a Ford Escort. Like, no one would know this was that kind of car unless they sat in it and knew where all the buttons were. Called a Q car. And the term Q car, and like I said, I went down the rabbit hole in this, comes from World War II. There were ships called Q ships. Actually, World War I and World War II. Q ships were ships that looked like regular ships, so that submarines or warships would kind of come up and try to sink it or try to take the cargo, and then suddenly the sides would fall down and guns would pop up and they would attack these other ships. So they're kind of like bait ships, and so they were fake merchant ships, but they're really warships. So, anyways, going all the way back, this car, Buick GNX, is very popular amongst car collectors who don't keep it just for collection, but actually drive them, because it kind of looks like a nondescript car, but has this powerful engine inside of it. And now you, my friends, will look at every car a little suspect to say, ooh, is that a secret Q car? It probably isn't. Next, my friends, we go to ye old South Dakota, where during a junior league hockey game between periods, they had a Dash for Cash event where they bring out people out to the ice, throw a bunch of cash on the ground, and they have 1 minute to grab as many. I had 5 minutes to grab as many $1 bills as possible. And basically, they brought in 10 local teachers to come in and to shove as much money into their shirts as possible to get money for school projects. The one with the most got $616. And gosh, there's really something to be said about our education system and how underfunded it is when it's entertainment to watch teachers on the ice, on their hands and knees, frantically grabbing money to help fund their projects to teach their children. Gosh, wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where that wasn't a thing, where that isn't needed to happen? So obviously the union rep of the teachers said that should not have happened. Teachers shouldn't be crawling on the ice trying to get money. He said in the statement, while the Dash for Cash may be well-intentioned, it only underscores the fact that educators don't have the necessary resources to meet the needs of their students. As a state, we shouldn't be forcing teachers to crawl around on an ice rink to get the money they need to fund their classrooms. Um, Ryan Knudsen, the Director of Business Development and Marketing for CU Mortgage Direct, which donated money for the event, and Stampede President Jim Allander, which was the hockey team's arena, did not respond to phone or email messages left by the Associated Press. And I imagine they will not. But, yeah, folks, that is immensely demeaning. And, again, only shows that states, they need to do a better job in terms of educating, in terms of funding the education of their public school system. Now, what you should dash for, my friends, is to your AWSM Radio app or website to listen to the rock sessions. It's a drive time show making sure that the evening commute home is fun, hosted by the beautiful, wonderful, fantastic Rocks, featuring the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between. She will make it rock style, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You do not want to miss it. She is great, plays great music, and offers some great little side notes throughout her program. So listen to the Rock Sessions right here on AWSM Radio, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Moving along to Florida, this week Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, noted, that guy, signed the Stop Woke Act, the Stop the Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act. They really, these acronyms. Basically giving private citizens the right to sue schools and employees who implement critical race theory in the job life or in the schools. So this is modeled after the Texas law that gave private citizens the right to sue abortion doctors and clinics in there. Kind of doing an end around of the law, so it's not that the state is enforcing anything. They're letting citizens enforce things, and that is modeled after this. And, Ron DeSantis, he said this was justified. This is exactly what Martin Luther King would want. He said on Wednesday, you think about what MLK stood for. He said he didn't want people judged on the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. You listen to some of these people nowadays, they don't talk about that. What? 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 So, this comes months after Florida banned the teaching of critical race theory in public schools, despite there is zero evidence of that. But anyways, they can sue if they think their kids are being taught critical race theory, and let parents collect attorney fees if they win the lawsuit. Obviously, people who are against critical race theory love this. They think this is great. There should be a law in all 50 states allowed to do this. Of course they do. Of course they do. It was widely denounced. Daily Beast columnist Wajhat Ali described it as a racist dog whistle, both a facially neutral cover. Various Democrats in Florida spoke out against it. Stop creating fake problems. Let's see here. The stupidest thing I've seen in 30 years. Yeah. So that is basically it's a publicity stunt. He was going to run for president in 2024, and this is a publicity stunt. So part of this Stop Woke Act will prevent school funding being put forward towards consultants connected to critical race theory, and would stop staff members from having to go through anti-racist therapy or training. DeSantis says that it violates Florida standards to scapegoat someone based on their race, to say they are inherently racist, to say that they are oppressor or oppressed, any of that, and that's good and that's important. So basically in Florida, if you made jokes that were real funny in the 80s and 90s and are a bit racist now, and your boss says, you know what, you can't really use that language anymore, you can't do that, you're going to need to attend a class to let people, so you can understand why you can't do that. That person can now sue that person for making them less racist. That is basically what this law does. As a side note, in terms of education, allow me to pontificate? Let me just get out my soapbox here. Parents, and I don't mean to insult anyone, parents are the worst people to be involved with education. Hear me out. Parents, by and large, do not know what's best for their kids. They know what they think they know is best for their kids, okay? For example, if you had a car that broke down, you wouldn't take it to your dad to fix it unless he's a mechanic. So unless you are a teacher, you don't really know what you're talking about, do you? When you went to school in the, I guess 80s and 90s at this point, how old am I? Education was different. There were different priorities. Things are different now. There's different education. Just like how education in the 20s didn't look like the education in the 40s, which didn't look like in the 60s, and doesn't look like the education we have today. You do not know what you're doing. You are not a professional. Teachers go to college. Yeah, they're just not some slack-jawed yokels that wander off the street and start teaching stuff. They went to college. A lot of them went to more college than you did as well, okay? So, they know how to teach. If you really, really want to impact your child's education, here's what you should do. You should sit down with them. You should help them with their homework. And if you want to affect school policy, then you run for school board, okay? Get on the school board. They elect them every 2 years. It's not that hard. But, not spending money to hiring an attorney to sue the school because you have some misconception in your narrow-minded mind that they're teaching critical race theory, something that you probably don't know what it is in the first place. I have yet had someone tell me what critical race theory and how it's bad, that it has not been taken off of Facebook or a Fox News segment, because you don't know. And don't tell me, well, Colt, you have to do your own research. You know what? Do your own research is the battle cry of the truly ignorant. That is what that is. The truly ignorant will say, wow, God, do your own research, man. No, I'm not going to do my own research because I'm going to leave that to the professionals who know what they're doing, okay? I'm not going to do my own research on nuclear fission or, heart disease because it's not my area of expertise. So, Florida friends, enjoy this. This has opened up Pandora's box of legislation. California is now letting private citizens sue gun makers for, making guns and causing violence and being the result of violence and whatnot, modeled after the law, okay? So, off the Texas law. So, you don't see a lot of red and blue states giving private citizens the ability to sue entities in lawsuits and have them recover attorney fees and et cetera, because Texas decided to go around the law and kick this out of their purview into the purview of private citizens. So hopefully the Supreme Court will see, oh gosh, this is a terrible idea. We gotta put the lid on this, and we'll knock it down. But anyways, let me get off my soapbox here. There's a few things that get me more irritated than the education. That's one of them, and hypocrisy. And boy howdy, these two really overlap on this one. What will never be stopped, my friends, however, is sports. Specifically, our sports show on here. Yes, that's the segue. Married to the Game. It is our sports show here on AWSM Radio. Broadcast every Wednesday at 9 p.m. It features Brian, Joe, and Mac Daddy, who will bring their insights, analytics, and expertise to the table on all things games. And what kind of sports show would be without a little bit of trash talking in between? Tune in and catch up on a week of all things sports. Follow them on the Instagram, Joe at Turn Up the Jets, Nick at the Mac Daddy Ryan Show, Brian at bolstered_up_sports, and then the show itself, Married to the Game, MTTG Radio, all on Instagram, all worth a fantastic follow. Married to the Game, Wednesdays at 9 p.m., right here on AWSM Radio. Next, friends, we go to Switzerland, to Geneva, where there is a meeting of UN folks about arms and whatnot. And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, which you probably don't know, he was the United Nations Secretary General, is calling for new rules on, quote, killer robots. What do I mean by killer robots? Terminator 2? No, not quite yet, my friends. But they are talking about discussing limits, and they've been talking for the last 8 years, on and off, about limits on using lethal autonomous weapons or laws. These are fully machine-controlled weapons that rely on new technology such as facial recognition and artificial intelligence to make attacks. And there was actually an autonomous drone attack last month or earlier this year in Libya. So basically, the way these things work is you send something up into the air, it kind of loiters around, flying around. These drones can be up there for hours, and some very good ones, days. Scans the ground, looks for a variety of targets, and if a target matches one of its profile, it attacks. So some of these have really powerful cameras on there. It'll match a face, it'll make a facial recognition, and if it's pretty sure it can do it, it will then attack said thing. And the human factor in that attack is completely taken out. Obviously, a lot of people are certainly concerned about that. This negotiations is called the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. It has 125 countries involved with it, including Israel, the United States, and China. Some at the meeting, such as Austria, is calling for the total ban of these autonomous weapons. But some countries are a little bit more nuanced in their approach. They say there could be potential benefits, that these machines can be more precise than humans in making decisions and striking targets, so they don't want to outlaw it completely. A variety of groups, including Amnesty International, are calling for countries to start negotiating an international treaty on these autonomous weapons. Claire Conboy of Stop Killer Robots, great name, said the pace of technology is really beginning to outpace the rate of diplomatic talks. This is a historic opportunity for states to take steps to safeguard humanity against autonomy in use of force. So we shall see. I would say it's unlikely they'll come to a decision here. Some countries are against this, such as Russia. They want their autonomous weapons. One diplomat involved with the talks says there's not enough support to launch a treaty at this stage, but we think that some principles could be agreed for national implementation. So while there won't be an international treaty about these autonomous weapons, there could be some things that countries can agree to all do. Won't be binded to them, but if they can all get on the same page, might be a bit better for humanity in general. If the robots are listening, I, for one, welcome your tyranny, as long as I continue my show and be supplied with Fireball whiskey and cheesecake. I like to hedge my bets, just like to hedge my bets. You never know. You never know. And that, my friends, just about wraps up this week's Side Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, here on AWSM Radio. Thank you for joining me here today. Next Saturday will be Christmas. Probably ask yourself, Colt, surely you'll take time off? No, I'm only busy Christmas Eve helping Santa. So I am free all day on Christmas. So yes, my friends, there will be a show next week on Christmas Day. We'll have many guests: Lady Gaga, Michelle Obama. No, I'm just kidding. No one. It'll just be me. But it'll be me, and maybe I'll have a few holiday-themed stories, and I'll be wearing a Santa hat. Even though you can't see me, I'll be wearing one during the broadcast. So, my friends, please feel free to engage with me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Instagram, on the Cameo at Colt S. Taylor. Subscribe to the podcast version of the show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. And, of course, follow all my adventures at ColtSebastianTaylor.com. Until next time, my fantastic, lovely friends, I am, of course, as always, the always jolly, the always friendly Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later. Have a good last week of shopping.